I want to ask you this. What happens in this scenario in Peter Schiff's world if we have, let's say, used car prices on average go from $100 to $140 this year? That's 40% inflation. But the next year they go down to 131% or something like that, 100 or $132, whatever. And all of a sudden we look and wait a minute, we just had, I don't know, 2% or 3%, 4% deflation in car prices. We're still way higher than where we were, comparing to 2020, but all of a sudden in 2022, we had deflation compared to 2021. Is that possible? What happens in a scenario like that? Does the Fed just keep cranking the money printer?
Well, that's what they're hoping for, right? That some of these big price increases turn down. But look, even if we get a slowdown in the rate of appreciation of used cars, which we probably will, I think they're still going to get more expensive. They're not necessarily going to get cheaper. They just won't get more expensive as the same rate. But remember, there are a lot of other products that are going to pick up the slack, especially housing. I mean, again, think about housing. How much housing prices and rents are actually going up, and none of that is in the CPI yet. Wait until that stuff comes into the CPI. I mean, that's going to dwarf what's going on with car prices, used car prices. But the new car prices, they're going up a lot too, especially too. I mean, if the used car prices are going up, that means car prices. I mean, new car prices are going to go up too, a lot. I mean, the reason that used car prices are going up is because there aren't enough new cars to buy. So new car prices are going up too. But a lot of times too, I'm not really sure how much the new car prices are actually captured in the CPI, because the new car prices, they come out with a price, a sticker price, and normally people get to buy them well below sticker. But let's say now no one's buying below sticker. Maybe people are forced to pay the sticker. According to the government, well, the price hasn't gone up because the sticker prices are the same. But if people were buying, 5% below sticker, and now they're paying sticker, that's a 5% increase that's not captured in the CPI.
That's interesting. Okay, so you're saying they're measuring CPI not off what people are actually paying versus what they are paying now, but maybe off
I think it's based on,
MSRPs.
Again, I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing at what they would do is because they would look at the manufacturer suggested price and compare it to the suggested price from before. I don't know that they're actually getting down in the weeds and seeing, hey, what was the actual sale price of these cars? And the CPI is always rigged too. I mean, they always come and say, oh, the cars are better because they don't pollute as much. Yeah, well, who cares about that? I mean, most people buy and go, well, it's okay that I paid extra because I got fewer emissions. I mean, most people aren't looking at that as a big perk. But if they but the government says, oh, you got a better deal because you have fewer emissions. So, but there's all sorts of ways the government is claiming that things are getting better. I don't think they ever admit when things are getting worse, when they substitute lower quality ingredients, cheaper materials. Or, I read another article today where they talk about shrinkflation, where, hey, they didn't raise the prices, but they just, put fewer flakes in the cereal box. This one article that I read, not only did they take, I don't know, maybe 8% of the cereal out of the box, but they actually made the box bigger, just so they really fooled people. It's okay, look, we're going to take cereal out of the box, but we're actually going to make the box larger than when it had more cereal. But, there's a limit to how often, how much they could do that, right? They can't sell this gigantic box of cereal that takes up your whole car and it's got one serving in it. They can't start selling toilet paper by the sheet. Right now they keep, they take away 20 sheets, 30, instead of raising the price. But, at some point there's a limit to how small they can make stuff, but I don't even know if the government are they looking at how many cornflakes are actually in the box, or are they just looking at the price? I'm not even sure if they're looking at the unit price.
It's a good point. I want to ask you about the quality argument, because you've mentioned this before, that and this is it's a good argument that, hey, if we used the data from the 70s or the same methods of collecting inflation data in the 70s, inflation today would be way higher. But as
much
time goes on, they keep changing what's in the basket, so it's kind of a messed up measure. Now, I want to ask you this: is it possible that they're doing that? Because maybe 10 years ago, I needed to spend $1,500 to have the iPad that I wanted. But now I could get the iPad that I want for $500, and the $1,500 version just has, I don't know, 3 more cameras on it, but I don't need that version. So is it fair for them to make those sort of deflationary adjustments, or is that just being done to rig the game?
No, I don't think it's fair, because, stuff is always getting better in technology terms.
Sure.
I mean, stuff was getting better in the 1970s. But, they didn't take that out of the CPI back then. But, the thing is, if I wanted to buy the computer from, 10 years ago, I can't. It's not on the market anymore. It's like you have to take the better one. It's like you don't have a choice that, if I don't want all the extra memory, I don't want all the extra speed. I mean, at the end of the day, it may not be that important to me as far as the quality of my experience, what I'm using it for, but I have no choice. I got to buy it anyway. And now the government says, well, even though you're paying more money, it's actually cheaper because it's so much faster. But, I can only type so fast. I mean, it doesn't really matter about some of these things changing. And, it doesn't affect me. But, where the quality reductions really come in is the material quality, where they substitute cheaper vinyls or plastics for what used to use leather or something like that, or had more steel, and now they've taken a lot of that away in the cars. What really bothers me on quality is, let's say you buy something, right? And it's a piece of furniture, right? And you buy this piece of furniture and it was made in China. Whereas, 10, 20 years ago, maybe the piece of furniture was made in America, but now it's made in China. And it's a little bit cheaper or the same price. But when it was made in America, it was fully made, and I brought it home, or it was delivered, and that was the end of it. I just, put it there. But it comes from China, this huge piece of furniture in a tiny little box with a whole bag of screws and instructions that you can barely understand. And so then it takes you 2 hours to put together what you just bought. Yet none of that is in the CPI. What is all your time worth? All the time that we spend putting stuff together, there's no, you should have to add that to the cost of the product. Or, how much time, I got to make a phone call now. I got to call up the credit card company. I got to call up an airline. I want to do something. I'm on hold for an hour, right? Yep. Because, they're trying to save money. They don't have as many workers. They don't have people answering the phones. And so you're on hold for an hour. So instead of raising prices so you don't have to wait on hold, they just make you wait on hold for an hour. That's not in the CPI. But what's your time worth, right? So there's a lot of things that are happening that are really raising price, but it doesn't show up in the CPI.
I went on my first post-COVID flight and went to LAX. And the employees working in the airport were saying, we can't hire fast enough. There's so much demand. And I get to the gate. They only have one person working at the gate. The flight gets delayed 2 hours because they can't get the other plane out fast enough. The engine can't start itself, so we have to wait for some box cart or whatever to come to start the plane. It's like I'm sitting here wasting hours of my time. I'm late for my commitment in the morning because it's a red eye. I don't get any sleep because I'm stressed. Like, I probably paid 10% more for the plane ticket than I would have last year.
Go to the post office.
But I just paid way more with my time,
I mean, go to the passport office. I was at the passport office to get the passports for my kid. It's a nightmare. I mean, there's nobody there. There's nobody working there. The place is empty. Once you get inside, there's nobody there. There's a huge line around the block to get in. But once you get inside, there's no one working there. It's like a ghost town. But everything now takes forever. How much? You know how many COVID tests I take? Here when I'm here in Europe, they don't take my insurance, so it's $50 a pop. I got to take them for the kids every week. Now I realize I got to take the COVID tests to come back in the country. When I left the country, I don't think they Puerto Rican insurance. The U.S. charges $200 for a COVID test. I mean, where is that in the CPI? I mean, no one was taking COVID tests a couple of times. Now every time you want to do something, where's your COVID test? Even though I got a vaccine, they still want the COVID test. How much are we spending on masks? Right? I mean, people were spending zero on masks a couple of years ago. Now, how much money we wasting on masks?